and your toe hurts. What if I told you if you're a pitcher, you might hurt your arm because your toe hurts? Because you're going to change your mechanics, and then all of a sudden there's going to be different stresses placed on your arm than when your toe wasn't right. So the point there in the article that I copied and pasted, because I don't write well enough to write something like that, is that when you have limited motion, it's going to have a chain reaction effect to other places in the body. And if you can't dissipate force through full ranges of motion, then that force has to go somewhere, and it's going to be all placed within a limited range of motion. In addition, tight muscles. Think of it like this, guys. If you forces, sounds, energy travel through hard objects, that's why sound travels faster in water, and right? Hard objects transfer forces. They don't absorb forces. I want to land on a mattress, not on a cement slab. So tight muscles don't absorb reaction forces. They transfer forces straight up the chain. So when your lower muscles are tight, hamstrings are tight, ground reaction forces get less absorbed, and they're going up the chain into other places and overusing. So don't look at it like, how does this tight muscle, and I go to stretch it, and all of a sudden, I have an overuse. It's not that acutely, it's more holistically. That when you have limits to your range of motion, you can have secondary problems that can arise from trying to do activities of daily living or athletics or exercise when you don't have proper movement. That's what that is. It's a good question. And thank you for being patient with me. I'm working on answering it, yeah.
There's the stretch, it's the first stretch on page 74. I can see like legging stretch.
Okay. Let's see if I can help clarify. Okay, so remember how we analyze motion joint by joint, we analyze muscles joint by joint. So I'm going to throw it back on you. No, it's okay. Look, when we're done, you're going to be like, I'm so glad he did that. Don't eat the apple in one bite. Okay? If somebody's like, hey, what joint motions am I having? And what kinds of crazy stuff? That's just meant to distract you. We know that the ankle only does so many things, the shoulder doesn't. So look at her, which, by the way, Chloe works at McLeod Toronto Sheffield, if anybody works there. That's Miss Chloe. And I'm going to ask you, do you see any joint in the body that's not an anatomical position? Yeah. So that's what I'm saying, that we can look at what's being stretched or lengthened one joint at a time. And if you want to say, well, the shoulders aren't anatomical, where are they? They're flexed. So what do you think we're lengthening? At a girl. Yeah, and you just joint by joint by joint by joint. I told you. You're welcome. It's a great question because I think it's our instinct when, let's just give this analogy. You guys are kinesiology chefs. And to me, who's not a chef, I see a cake and all I see is a cake. But a chef sees all the different things that went into that cake. The chef sees it differently. To people who are just learning this stuff, you see a holistic body stretch, and that's overwhelming. And I'm going to teach you that no, it's just made of simple ingredients. And we look at it differently. We don't look at it holistically, we look at it in separate parts. You're very welcome. Back of the class representing. who watched my video that I made? I looked rough, oh man, I still feel bad. But then I think my wife gave me 2 healthy boys, and I had nothing to complain about. I'm lying, I can complain about having a cold. They say having a cold for a guy is like giving birth and having a kidney stone and plantar fasciitis and needing a root canal all mixed in to one. It's bad. It's bad. I'm joking. I'm just a big wimp. Hey, how about those Cajuns, huh? It's awesome, man. 10 wins, dude. It's clutch. The Saints the Cajuns went through the Sun Belt like Shy Tuttle went through Matt Ryan. Yeah. Ooh. That's ironic. Question about questions. First of all, I don't know exactly, but I can give you a range, right? You've had me for 2 exams now. And you guys know that if my questions were just like straight memorization, right? Like let's say you're taking a math test, but 2 plus 3, 5 plus 2, you can pop those that. But my questions, I want to give you time to think. And I don't want to pressure you to have to, oh God, I don't want time, I don't want to do that. So that's why I shade towards, I say less questions, but somewhere within the 35 to 40 range, where it's not too many where you don't have time to think. So I would say somewhere in there, but I have no idea. It won't be something stupid, like it won't be like 10 questions, sudden death. I would never do something. Maybe for the final 10 questions, sudden death. I'm joking. And look, that's a fair question. I'm limited to how much knowledge I literally have on it. So I'm telling you what my best guess is.
Okay. Like when you're running and you're using your arms to help you move, could you go over the forces and like why it would be concentric and eccentric and why it would only be the same set of group muscles working?
Okay.
Just
Something's got to speed up my flexion, something's got to slow down my flexion. Something's got to speed up my extension, something's got to slow down my extension. So if I started my analysis, and let's say I paused it and I'm here, and the first thing you're going to observe when I press play is a fast flexion in my shoulder. And you got to ask yourself, who can make my shoulder go fast? Gravity can make it go, it can't make it go fast. Can my extensors push my shoulder forward?
yeah. I don't
Yeah?
see why I can't.
Why it can't?
Yeah.
Because of one of your commandments. Do you have your book with you?
No.
See, this is my challenge. I'm trying to teach you stuff, but you're not putting me in a position to do my job, because I was going to go to the first commandment, right? And what does that say right there? What does that say right there? So when you don't have your material, that makes it harder for me to teach you information, because the answer is right there, okay? Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Well, when you say
Just
some
cut
more
off my shit.
for isometric work, I don't understand with the external force is that it's matching. So I understand that your knee extensors have to be pushing to match,
Knee extensors don't push.
or your quadricep muscles.
Those are knee extensors. Why are you saying quadricep? Why don't you tell me the muscles of the quadricep if you're going to go that route? That's my point. That's why we don't use those terms. That's why we don't use those terms. We don't say quads and hamstrings and glutes, because that's just as ambivalent as anything else. Because the quads are made up of specific muscles.
So how would you word
The knee extensors.
So when I'm using my knee extensors for isometric work, I'm matching a force so that my knee doesn't just flex and I don't just crumble.
You're absolutely correct.
What is the external force that I'm matching?
Look at that picture. Give context to your question. You see that padding? Do you think that it's contact? No, that would be imagined, that would be infinitely negligence. I'm giving you context to show you how all this stuff works. Hey. Look at this guy. Look at that. Okay? So knowing that those examples are based on context, does that answer your question? Awesome. Awesome.
Can you stretch your abductors? Like, show me a stretch.
Can I stretch my abductors? Sure. What position do I need to put my hips?
No, like your arms.
Okay, that's all good. What position do I need to put my shoulders?
Abductors.
Well, position is a motion question.
Okay.
So if I need to stretch my abductors, what position, joint position do I need to put my shoulder?
Something like that.
Hey, you're right there. You're right there. This is me helping to remind you that motion is shun or ed. Muscles are flexors, adductors, pull direction motion. If I need to stretch the muscles that pull this way, what position do I need to put my shoulder joint? And what do we call that? What is this motion? And so what's that motion? Yeah, so what position do we need to put our shoulder?
Down.
We need to be placed in an adducted position, right? Now, here's the issue. Oh. So what we gotta do sometimes is we gotta clear a little room. Like imagine you're Black Friday shopping and there's people everywhere, right? Sometimes you kind of have to, right? So knowing that I can only adduct to a soft endpoint, what I might need to do is flex a little bit, clear that out, and then continue it over, where some of it is in the frontal, but some of it is in the transverse. So I have a little bit of horizontal and a whole lot of regular . But the concept of if I need to stretch things that pull I need to place them in a position of You're welcome. Did that make sense? Or good deal?
You said that sometimes to stretch your adductors, to stretch your abductors, you need to go into flexion a little bit. But if we're talking about the shoulder joint, wouldn't that be extension?
What?
Oh, like when you're stretching.
Look, bro, I'm just keeping it real, man. What did you just say?
When you're stretching your abductors, you need to go into adduction, and then you said you can flex a little bit. But if we're talking about the shoulder joint, wouldn't that be extension instead of flexion?
That still makes no sense. I'm not saying that personally. The question doesn't make sense. You're saying that if I flex, I'm extending?
No, like, how is this flexion of the shoulder joint?
Oh, why wouldn't it be flexion of the shoulder joint?
Because it's extension, it's going out of fetal position.
Okay, here's the line in the sand. You're just calling me a liar. You're saying that I'm wrong, and that hurts my feelings, man. Okay, it's a common mistake. Remember in class I said I blame ESPN? This is flexion. Flexion doesn't mean you going away from anatomical, because I could go back here away from anatomical. What flexion means is that you're going more into fetal position. And think about the things that get you into a ball. Flexion, flexion, flexion. So I'll accept your apology. I'm sorry. It's all good. I knew one side, and again, it was nothing personal. I'm glad you worked with me. One side understood that the issue was just, it's tempting. It's so tempting. One side understood that the issue was you thinking this was extension, and everything fell into place real quick. Just remember, it follows the same rules as a hip, right? How can this be hip flexion and this not be shoulder flexion? Or if you were going to get into a ball, you're not going to be like, oh my God. This ESPN's fault, man. They're the worst. Guys, I will say this, man. It's hard enough to do my job. It's harder to do my job when you don't have materials out. I'm just being honest. It's easier to do my job when you have materials that are needed for this class. That's one of my pet peeves, is when I have to work harder and talk more because you don't have stuff that I provide for you. That is not a good way to get on my good side. If you start a new job and they give you an employer's booklet with information, you kind of want to make sure you read it, have access to it. Help me help you. Help me. Who plans on getting into some study groups? It's the way to do it, man.